So what is up, guys? Nick here, and welcome back to the More Nick Ackerman channel, where we cover other phones we don't always showcase on the main channel. Today we're looking at an oldie but a goodie, not really old. It is from 2023, the iPhone 15 Pro. Now this is going to be 6.1 inches, 48 megapixel triple camera, but the other cameras are 12 megapixels. We do have a 3274 milliamp hour battery according to my notes. In addition to that, we do also have 8 gigabytes of RAM and an Apple A17 Pro chip. So we do have ourselves a really decent set of specs here. In addition, this one did give us the action button over here, as well as USB-C, no camera control, but a very thin and light design. So let's talk about the very first thing, and that is going to be its design. So I do quite like the titanium blue. It is a really nice color, honestly. But its size and weight is what really shines about this phone to me. It just feels really nice in the hand, nice to hold. And Samsung did bring a blue with this year's S25, ironically, after this phone came out with this titanium blue, which is, to me, them going back and forth, taking each other's designs a bit. But 187 grams here. This thing 8.3 millimeters thick, so it is the same thickness as the Max. But at the same time, this thing doesn't have a SIM card slot. There's a 5G antenna here, which became a camera control button on the new phone, and they don't even have these on the newer phones. It's not quite as clean, but it does feel rather nice to hold in the hand. So should you buy it in terms of design? I'd say absolutely. It still looks very polished, very premium, and I would say it even looks better than some newer phones that are coming out in 2025. So this is definitely not no slouch in that department. But where is we going to go when it comes to the actual display? They've had this display a while, but this one is plenty bright, plenty sharp, and super smooth. But this phone tends to get really bright outdoors and doesn't really struggle like some older iPhone 14 Pros did, where they would kind of auto dim after they got a little too warm. So this one really did good there. This also does have always on display, so you still have that, which is rather nice. It does have dark modes, customize the dark icons, things of that sort, true tone. It's all here. It's a pretty good panel. It's just a bit small by comparison to a Max or something like that. But with the reduction in bezels here, it definitely feels nicer than, say, an iPhone 16e, 14, 15. It even feels a little bit nicer than like some of the other Android phones out there in terms of, these bezels. So they're pretty thin. But they're not as thin as the iPhone 16 Pro, which is definitely a better option there. Moving on to the area of performance though, I will say that our A17 Pro chip in here still flies along basically everything you want to do on the day-to-day in your day-to-day life. It's very good. I found that this phone, almost dropped it, it's super slippery. I found that this phone actually gets even warmer than the Max, which is not great. So I think this phone, you definitely want to slap a case on it if you're going to be doing heavy use, because you will feel the heat on this phone. That's the con of this phone, but you are going to be able to find this thing a bit cheaper. So you can go ahead and look third party for this phone. So you can see we can find this thing for like $700. I don't recommend renewed. I recommend sealed if you can find it, or refurbished. Some of these phones they use, when they renew them, they don't have the same camera quality anymore, the same, battery. It's not like an Apple official battery sometimes, so be careful with that. But generally, I just use that to kind of see our price point. Our price point is definitely several $100s cheaper than when it came out new. So this phone is a pretty decent option from a price perspective at this point. You could probably even find it on Apple's refurbished store. So it's a solid pick there. One area where this phone really does shine, though, over even something like the newer 16e by far, is the cameras. So you've seen those prices around $650. Some iPhone 16es, like with higher storage tiers, with taxes, will cost you more than finding yourself a secondhand 15 Pro. You would not be very wise if you picked up an iPhone 16e if you could find the iPhone 15 Pro at around the same price, which you definitely can. It might not be brand new, but it's going to be pretty good condition. So that's why a lot of people say the 16e is a horrible deal, because it kind of is when you compare it to what you can get for the same money. Apple needed to make this price lower for that phone to be worthy. But back to this one, the camera's great. We can go 15 times. While you can't go 25 like the 16 Pro, you still have RAW modes. You still have excellent video. You still have excellent front-facing camera. While not 24 megapixels, it's still at that 12 megapixels. It's solid. The overall experience of this phone is just absolutely solid. It's polished. It's premium. It's lightweight. It gets a little bit warm, but it's pretty darn good still. And it also supports Apple Intelligence. So if that's something that matters to you, this will definitely be one to put on your list. If we go over here, we go back, you'll see Apple Intelligence is available for your image playground, and things of that sort will be available. Of course, you don't have the camera control to access the visual intelligence easily, but at the same time, at least you have Apple Intelligence. The 15 series Pro series was the only versions to support the Apple Intelligence prior to the new 16. So you won out there, and that's mostly because they had 8 gigabytes of RAM to ensure a better experience. So I would say this one is one of the better options to consider secondhand versus almost any other iPhones on the market today. This and the 15 Pro Max. They're like the only two that are really decent options because they support everything that Apple is doing right now. This phone doesn't have amazing battery though. It drains rather quickly, and while it can get through a full day, I got 61 cycles on here. While it can get through a full day, it's not for the heavy user. This one really isn't. It gets toasty and it drains much quicker than something like a Max phone. So I would definitely not recommend this for a heavier user. This is for a casual user, does some photography and videography, maybe does a little bit of, doing a lot of tasks on their phone, but they're not on it all day long. They're just using it more as a communications tool. I think this is a better option versus somebody who's using it as a business tool for using it really heavily. Then you're going to want something like a Max phone for sure, or even the newer 16 Pro, which far improved the battery life over this phone. This phone also has several years of software support left, so I would say it's a go for software if you wanted to buy it here in 2025. Definitely a solid option for software. Apple's going to continue to support this for several years to come. Whether you're on betas, whether you're on the official, it doesn't matter. You're going to get plenty of years of software support left on this phone, so there's no issues in recommending it there. Performance-wise, a 17 Pro chip is solid. 8 gigabytes of RAM is solid. There are newer alternatives, though. Like, you can get the 16E, but why? Like this over no. Like, I would definitely not recommend that. You could pay more and go get yourself the 16 Pro. If you got the cash, it's definitely the better phone. It's got the camera control, better battery life. It's just a better overall phone if you want to get that. You can also consider the iPhone 16, which in a lot of ways is better than the 15 or 15 Pro, but definitely not when it comes to the promotion and stuff of that sort. And you could also pay a little bit more and go to the iPhone 16 Plus if you'd like. The 16 Pro Max is going to be significantly more money than this, so I can't really talk about that. But this phone used is about like the price of a 16 or maybe some 16 Pluses, and cheaper sometimes than a 16E. So you kind of got to decide there. And honestly, if you could find this around the $600 to $700 price tag, I think it's a steal actually of a deal. It's a really solid iPhone for that type of person looking for that price tag of around $600 to $700. You're going to be making out like a bandit with this one. You're really going to do good in that area. So my final verdict is yes, I would consider or recommend buying this in 2025, provided you can find it less than the price of a 16 and 16E, somewhere in that $600 price tag, with really good battery health remaining, or in really good condition, or possibly even sealed. I wouldn't go anywhere over like $800 unless you had a really, really high storage tier. But this is a great deal right now. It really is, this phone right here. But again, heaviest users still gonna edge them towards the newer stuff always. But still, should you buy it? I'd say if you're looking for it, you find it a great deal, absolutely. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, and making the decision on whether the iPhone 15 Pro is going to be an option for you in 2025, leave your comments, your thoughts, your concerns down below. And thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch you all on the very next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.